So I'm Martin. I've been involved with Glue Isobar from the beginning, 99, 2000, and I think one of the things that I wanted to just talk to you about was the difference between all the what stuff that we've been observing and following and the how stuff. How the hell are we going to do it? How do we make it? How do we make it happen? So mine's not going to be anywhere near as fun as that, but a lot more useful, I hope. So essentially, the answer is these three things. Now, what's the question? I mean, this is the age-old marketing kind of saying, and I think if you combine culture with the right behaviours, well, culture being behaviours as well as ways of working with a group of people, but combine that with insight and knowledge and data and all the good stuff and understanding this, you get to somewhere near being able to deliver some of the things that South by Southwest were talking about and were playing with. So I've got the big theme being there's no themes. Well, I've managed to kind of boil it down to three. There's more than just Internet of Things. It's a very naive way of looking at the plethora of stuff for South by Southwest. And I think these are the big themes that we've seen over the last decade or so with the digital transformation of being kind of funny little, revolutionary bits and bobs over here to suddenly, oh shit, it's the center of everything, and how does an agency change and how do clients change when digital is the center of everything rather than just something funny that you experiment with on at the corner of stuff. So I'm going to talk about three key areas, I guess. But as a top-level kind of premise, if you take one thing away, take away the idea that you need. I mean, these guys are just going. No one's thinking big anymore. I mean, think big but start small. Elon Musk, utter genius. I mean, if you talk about one, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about this guy in a kind of, semi-romantic way, actually. Because here's just absolutely extraordinary intelligence and extraordinary ability to make shit happen. So he came out of PayPal, had $1 billion in the bank, and kind of went through the process of kind of how should I spend it. And of course he thought, well, I know, I'll go to Mars. And he set up SpaceX and Tesla motor cars, and now is involved with Solar Cities, which is this vast organization around solar power. I mean, he is a genius. So we were kind of sitting there and we're going, he's going, oh yeah, and then, he started this whole story about thinking about the way he thinks big or what he does. And he goes, yeah, we had to reboot our spaceship because it was hurtling towards the space station. It was meant to be docking, but obviously it kind of got broken in its transit and a bit broke off. And so what we had to do is we had to borrow a bit of the Royal, my thing gone, no, we had to borrow a bit of the Air Force's satellite spectrum to send some software update that we just pounded the space with this software update so that then the various bit of the engines kind of, re-jolted themselves back into, and that kind of managed to steer the spaceship back into docking with the space station. And that was yesterday, so that was quite successful. And everyone was like, oh, fuck, I've just done an app. So that is the point. These guys are thinking massive, massive. And if there was a VC story, I guess, is that people are not thinking big enough. I guess it was the point about how do you, who's investing in what. They're investing in stuff that wants to change it, make things exciting, change people's lives, not just connect someone so they can share their dog on the move. It's like, who cares? So you've got people like Stephen Wolfram. Explore him. He's a genius from Oxford who's now, creating huge computational mathematic ability with Wolfram Alpha search engine, and he publishes Mathematica, which is a way of kind of taking lots of formula and allow you to do computations really quickly with his computer power that he's got available. Peter Thiel, also from, or Thiel, I've never known, from PayPal, and is involved in a million things. So these guys, and Al Gore's The Future book is that fat, and he's very smart, and if only he was president. But now he's not president, he can say what he wants. And then he's not running politics, he can say what he wants, and he can say extraordinary things. He says the whole lobbyists own the White House, and the gun laws are being funded by or the gun lobbying is being funded by the gun manufacturers, and all this kind of stuff. I was like, he's saying everything that everybody kind of thought, but actually seems to be true. So these guys are thinking big. The other thought is engineering, which is ask more questions than anybody else. And it's this culture of engineering which gets out of the culture of subjectivity. We all live in a world of hope. You know, we sell hope to clients. Hey, this marketing is going to work. It's hope. You know, buy some hope. You know, these guys are in the area of actual objectivity, fact, truth, and experiments. And if we're in stuff where people interact with things, we're in the business of engineering. We're not in the business of hope. We can have some hope, and then you test it. So this is the general theme that came out of this, is how do you get to this place of engineering, not propagation of hope. Because no one will spend lots of money on hope. You need to have some big thoughts and then make it happen. So here's an example of a company that's doing it. Intuit, if you're not familiar, is a tax software in the States, or a tax software provider. Boring. However, founded by Scott Cook, they're absolute geniuses in reinvention, and they own the market for people doing, in the States, it's a big deal, doing your tax return, everyone has to do it. What they do is they have a methodology which Eric Ries has been writing about, the lean startup, and has based a lot of it on Mr. Cook here, who is basically been doing this for much longer. And you can see the basic model of empathy. I love that word, empathy for this. It's not insight, it's empathy. Understand how people feel. Not the insight is this, pop it on the wall. You know, it's how did this feel? What's the emotions behind this audience? Empathy, then go broad, then go narrow, then go broad, then go narrow. It's like a Brancusi sculpture. You're just kind of endless exploration. And then experiment. So this is a bit heavy, I apologize. It's also really ugly and rather boring. But the point I wanted to get across was that you get this idea that all of the products that they've created have been really focusing on these really big problems and with this massive empathy. And you know, they're experimenting, and they've had 10 failures out of 14 significant business experiments. And these experiments are happening all the time. The other point to make to anybody wanting to sell new ideas, because if you're new, you've got to be in lean. You know, if you don't know what the outcome is, you have to be in experiments. You know, so this is the world that we're in here. The budget split is 70-20-10. You see this a lot. Harvard Business Review talk about it all the time as for innovation business splits. But the point is, you get to this idea that you have different people. So 70% of people on the core product, the core business, the core cash cow. And they've got to be a rowing team. Lovely, lovely thought there. You know, everyone just doing it at the same time. These guys, for the 20%, it's kind of, there's another method that kind of says this is the lateral thinking stuff, the adjacent ideas. The adjacent possible is the jargon, if you like. This is all stuff that could just happen. And you need white water rafters for these ideas. It could just happen. And you need people who are going to go down and explore and don't mind getting wet and dirty. However, the 10%, which is the real hope stuff, I guess, leap of faith where you go, we just don't know, we've got a hunch, but then we're going to experiment to get there, is your deep sea divers. They have to kind of you know, dive and find those little nuggets. And different teams, different ways of working, different methods, different budgetary constraints for different outcomes. So significant learning there. And one of the things they've just launched or have explored is in India. And I can never remember what it's called. I think it's called Fasel. And it's in the next slide, but I can't remember. And what they did is basically they looked at farmers and they tried to help farmers get better, earn more money. And the way they did it is by providing a marketplace so that farmers could get better prices for their crops. And it's all through mobile phones, through feature phones. And they went through this process to experiment and test and learn. And this was what they ended up coming to, and it was a call center with you know, so but they went into India, into the market, because they've got a big team in India anyway, went into the market and went, how can we help farmers? Because it's a market that we want to be in. As in, there's people with money who need to spend on our product, but we don't know what the solution's going to be. And this is what they came out with. And this is a tax software company from America. You know, so this way of working uncovers hidden opportunities. Finding patterns in data was the second theme. So finding patterns in data, obviously there's been lots of talk about it, so I'm not going to go into too much. But it's this notion of spreadable media, and it's the book that's out. And Henry Jenkins is this wonderful boffin MIT dude who's got big hair, and he's kind of really exciting. And all they're saying is, they're not saying this is the new thing. They're just saying, look, guys, you know, from the data, you might want to think about some of these themes, right? So from the data, central is understanding the role of audiences, not your message, la la la. You know, you'll be familiar with some of these themes, but it was all coming good from kind of boffin territory rather than just someone espousing stuff. This is quite useful. The different, maybe for the IPA, for the social media project as well, you know, the listening stuff ain't it. That's listening, you know. Hearing and understanding and being part of a community and working with a community is the socialness as a noun. So how do you be part of it? The segments themselves that you put in your PowerPoint slides are not reality. You know, they're a shortcut, they're a symbol. They will change all the time. Kevin Rose blogged about this recently, about my social graph is changing all the time, Facebook isn't keeping up. How do I have a live social graph thing? Because my community is changing all the time. Keep testing ideas. And the other thought was the laziness of influencer thinking. That the idea of, you know, we're in broadcast land. What if we took broadcast thinking, gave it to a few people, and allowed them to broadcast it? That'll do our job for us. What they're actually kind of exploring is the fact that you have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of little influencers in lots of ways. How do you work with multiple groups of influentials rather than, you know, paying 5 super bloggers to talk about something? So it's just, it should be on the reading list. The third thought is a much more emotional one, which is about this kind of culture and data and code and way of working. These are 2 keynotes I went to. So the new Serendipity sounds a terrible title, but it had some extraordinary people. You know, I don't know if you know John Perry Barlow, Electronic Frontiers Foundation. I mean, he was in the Grateful Dead. I mean, you don't get cooler than him, really, having gone through what he's gone through. Kevin Rose from Google Ventures. Joy Ito, we met in the end, and he's the most extraordinarily intelligent person, and he's in the middle of MIT. And what they're kind of saying is how do you get into the idea of kind of dreaming, thinking big, not thinking about the money bit, but thinking about the problem bit. We've all heard this a number of times. And how do you share a lot? And the selfishness kills serendipity is a lovely, simple thought to take away, isn't it? You just kind of go, yeah, connections happen, you know. And how do you apply that thought to client land? It's kind of a tricky one. But openness, I mean, open business and, you know, Wikinomics and all the whole world of openness has been around for a good period of time. But that is kind of the idea of creating luck through sharing. And then Swiss Miss. Who's familiar with Swiss Miss? Some aesthetes amongst us. Swiss Miss is Swiss Miss, and she is lovely. Tina Roth-Eisenberg there. And what she did, she went from Switzerland to New York, and she has this kind of wonderful sharing community creative thing going on. One's called Creative Mornings, which is now in lots of cities around the world. You can just kind of host a creative morning where people come like this and chat to other people. To-Do app is a lovely to-do app. And Tattly is tattoos that look good, you know, temporary tattoos. Point being is she's just got this collective of people who come and go, not in a kind of Andy Warhol kind of way, but just in kind of just random connections. And from that, all these different types of products have come out. So she now makes all her money through all these random products. And she's a designer. So what she's kind of talking about is enthusiasm and connections and love and all this good stuff. And I think this emotional trend, if you like, or this understanding of the power of connections, not on an academic social level necessarily, but on this kind of fundamental human making things happen kind of level, is the bit that you're seeing these businesses emerge from as well. I think Lawrence was kind of referencing that. So all these businesses that are emerging and making people happy and connected is all being backed up, if you like, by the people talking about what they feel is important. So I guess the key thought that we have, that I kind of took out of it, is that while, you know, you have this idea of technology and geekiness and lots of ways of connecting in a technological way, it was the premise that A, we don't know the answers, so we have to test and be engineers and experiment. B, the only way forward is to push it out there and see and iterate your way through. And third, if it doesn't resonate on a human level, on an emotional level, just stop it, because it ain't going to pick up. You know, it's the stuff that makes you smile, and it's the stuff that delivers passion and kind of belief is the stuff that everyone got excited about. So those are my main points from South by.